And of course, his guidance was just brilliant, you know, and he said, well, you don't have to, you know, some people have all their different way of sensing. And one of the greatest things that I've carried with that is I've wanted to help people just be okay with your ordinariness, because in your ordinariness and in your authenticity, there's so much more purity, because you're not coming from the ego that's just wanting to fit in, because the ego that wants to be this and be all that is still it's very subtle, and of course people won't hear that, but it is really a subtle realm that is still about the need, the requirement to actually be special and have this special gift. We all have gifts, and it may just be that our gift is communication. It may be that our gift is sitting there and saying nothing.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to KAren Swain, teacher of Deliberate Creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
We are off and running. Hello and welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive with KAren Swain. So great to have you back with us again. I have another delicious person to introduce you to. Her name is Robyn Collins. She's a spiritual teacher. She's an author, and she studied as a transpersonal psychotherapist. Isn't that right?
Yes, that's correct. Hi, Karen. Hi.
And, you know, I met Robyn probably about 17 years ago. I think it was 2000. Yeah. We did the theta healing workshops together. Yeah. Vianna. I always get her name wrong. Came out to Australia, and
that was actually the first time was, I think, 1998. So it was kind of like 1998 into 2000.
Wow, was it that long ago?
When she first came out, it was 98. That was the first, yeah. And then some work with JM as well, with the Christ teachings. Were you around then? No. Oh, that's the teacher of a course in mastery. Anyway, but it was the theta healing. Yeah. Okay. There's so much.
Way back when. So Robyn, like me, has been in this industry. I don't know if you call it an industry, in this movement, in this awakening for a long time. And she's had her own journey of awakening, which we're going to talk about today. And now she helps others with their awakening and so much more. So welcome to the show, Robyn.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Lovely to say it. It's so funny that's been such a long time, and that, yeah, here we are again doing a full circle, catching back up. Yeah, it's really cool.
I know. It's so fun. So Robyn's up there in, no, you're down. You're in Kiama, right?
No, down. I'm in Cootamundra, which is the Riverina country, past Goulburn, on your way to Wagga and Gundagai.
So that's in country, New South Wales, Australia. Yeah. And I'm, of course, in Sydney. You're not too far away.
Well, yeah, no, 5 hours. I think it is 4 hours. I was from the Central Coast originally, yeah.
That's right. You were north. I remember that. Yeah. For those people that are listening from the, overseas, Australia is a mighty big place, let me tell you. It's like 5 hours down the road. It's just a road trip. It's not far. If that's gone through three countries. Anyway, but listen, let's get into your story, because it all started with the death of your daughter. How many years ago was that?
Okay, so it was 25 years ago, and I was living in the country. I had two beautiful daughters, a husband, living in a typical, ordinary, life in the country life, beautiful life. And we had clearly chosen, we're having 3 children. And so I'd gone in to actually had our third daughter, and unfortunately we lost her. She was 24 hours, so a day old. And I was not expected. She was born healthy, no problems at all. And 24 hours later, her lungs, she had got bronchial pneumonia. Her lungs collapsed and she passed. So it was like devastating, as you can imagine.
Rocked your world.
Yeah, totally. And so it was literally an existential crisis, and also a a real spiritual crisis as well. It pushed me into a place of the unknown, which I now know. I mean, today this is like the most amazing blessing. It's just beautiful. But yeah, it took me into incredible roads. I don't know where to begin. So, but anyway, that was it. So it's 25 years ago, and I did, of course, go searching. So the first 2 years was just lockdown, grief and bereavement, all of a whole 2-year process of just so much confusion. I had not actually had any sort of religious upbringing, although, you know, the local community were just incredible. The clergy came to try to help me and assist me in finding some sort of peace with death, but that didn't help at the time. It just kind of made it more confusing. So yeah, it left me in this such deep, empty void, which then, of course, is hell. You know, what we would personify as hell. The depression, the sadness, the not knowing. So that's actually where my journey first began, in that place.
Yeah.
And so, of course, today, working with grief and loss, I understand the process of where people are at, and to then help hold the space to nurture them through that and understanding, and help them take the steps through. But now, because I've had so many years' experience with my own study, I can help find it's sort of like a gap where, if they've turned away from religions or their belief in the afterlife, or they're turning towards any sort of addiction to shut down their pain that's creating any sort of mental health issues, I open up for the guidance to help heal that gap. And, you know, it's just incredible. It's such a blessing. And it's just done through presence. Although I've done lots of study, there is just this beautiful knowing that now her spirit is guiding me all the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Had a few technical glitches, but we've fixed them now. So what is her name, your daughter?
Okay. So my angel's name is
Angel.
Is Taylor. So yes, Taylor Madison is her name, and of course I have 3 other beautiful daughters that were older. So I had my eldest daughter Danielle and Brody. They were 4, 6 and 2 when she passed. So they've been on this incredible journey with me as well. You know, so it's just really, really has defined a lot of even who they are today.
Yeah.
With when I had Taylor, I had a cesarean, so I had my tubes cut and tied.
Wow.
So yeah, so of course that was like quite made the grieving even quite complex. But I was lucky enough that the doctors worked quick. The hospital, the staff were just amazing, and they worked. I was here in the country, and they actually got in touch with one of the greatest specialists at Sydney Hospital, and they just all like worked together, got me back in the hospital, put my tubes back together.
Well, they did.
Yeah, and and then I was graced by the birth of Madison. So Madison is the youngest. Well, youngest now, she's like 24.
Yeah.
But so yeah, the girls have been on this journey with me, of course, all the way along. And again, their sister's spirit defines a lot of who they are, and for my granddaughters even today. So her spirit lives on in so many other ways. It's beautiful.
So tell me, do you think that she was like a spirit guide, just coming into the physical body to wake you up?
Absolutely.
Or do you think that she is still your spirit guide, but she's actually incarnate now in a body?
Okay. How I see it is, if we were to go on, this has just traversed me through so much. I've studied so deeply into all different religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, ancient Christian mysticism, all modalities. into the psychic realm, into shamanism, and then into university, into psychology, and then into quantum science, right?
Darling, you have been on a journey.
She's like this tiny, tiny little pure, absolute bliss bomb, just like threw me into the universe, and beyond the universe, into cosmic intelligence, and to the very, very point zero, the ground of being. So I have this really big sense of knowing that's quite difficult to put into words. Hence why I tried to write about it, and also help people kind of come to their own feeling, their own experience. I see that collectively, I see existence itself as a 14 billion year journey of evolution. This is where I'm at today. As I've processed over the years, I think this is one of the stuff I also really loved about what you're doing based on multidimensionalism. It's like I can see this multidimensional experience of awakening that occurs. And in that multi-dimension are all of the teachings, all of the philosophies and the religions, and then the spiritual ways of thinking, and it's just like, it's huge. So in a nutshell, I believe that we are having this one incredible, magnificent experience of consciousness, or the divine, or God, whatever it is that we call it, as a 14 billion year journey of evolution. And every moment is an opportunity to just grow, to just live this most epic and beautiful life, and an expression of love and joy and happiness. So in that.
So what you're saying is that she could almost be an aspect of your oversoul that came in to wake you up, like an aspect of your higher self in a way. And
absolutely. I see the concept of non-duality, of oneness. I see like it was easier to grasp on this on the big experience than it was on all the little experiences. So in all different cultures and all different religions, like they have all these different ideas. What happens when we die?
Yeah.
Where do we go? Our soul family, blah blah blah. And because I looked into all of the different religious beliefs, I kind of had Christian understanding over here, and New Age understanding here, and Buddhist understanding here, and Hindu here, and Sufism here, and it's like there was all these, and I really got confused. I got quite exhausted.
I know, it's a minefield out there, isn't it? To the questioning mind, to the spiritual seeker, who am I? Why am I here? And where do I come from? It's like a minefield out there.
It is. Yes.
Yeah.
So, but really, at the end is yes. She's the experience itself in all of its complete oneness, and it's in its perfection, is that her coming into this earth plane as part of the contract. So if we'll use the words that some people may probably understand a bit easier. So as a contract, as a soul family contract, this ongoing spiritual evolutionary awesomeness of consciousness and of the soul's journey itself has come in to definitely awaken my experience. And then that one tiny moment from that one most pure, beautiful, radiant soul has just been able to then trickle and touch the lives and radiate this ripple into humanity, which is happening with everybody. So we're just like, even though we're getting more and more populated, we're also, the ripple effect is just getting bigger and bigger, which is really cool. And so more people are awakening. So through that experience, she brought me to, the experience got me to look into outside of the limited third dimensional being that I thought I was.
Yeah. So at the time, you're probably thinking, my path in life is to have children, be a mother, raise these children. Yep. I don't know, were you ambitious? Did you want to be a dress designer or something?
at that stage, I was living in the country, not just being a mum, because I know that that's an understatement.
Yeah, exactly. Hardest job.
Yeah, but yes, mum, husband, just the typical ordinary lifestyle, quite pleasant. Not I didn't have, at that stage I'm more ambitious now than what I was then.
Yeah. So you thought your role was to be a mom, bring up your girls, and like a lot of people do, and which is a worthy cause. But your soul, or your oversoul, or your higher self, or your inner being, or your God presence, or whatever you want to call it, had a different plan, and it needed to get you up to speed with the plan.
Up to speed, yes, it was. Yes, definitely. Up to speed is an understatement. It was definitely been thrown in the deep end and then having to wake up. It was literally wake up from these third dimensional labels and limitations, also, although beautiful, but yes, the mother and all the roles that comes with the mother, the wife and all of those things. And it made me actually look outside into what we can explain as the fourth dimension, the fourth density teaching. So outside of the limited third dimensional mind, the cognitive mind, and then open up into, but there must be something more, because the heart, it's like there's just this knowing there's got to be something else. And although then I could say I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God, don't believe in any of that crap, I was saying, like, what God would take away this beautiful little child? I did all of that stuff,
as a lot of people do. How can there be a loving God when this has happened to me?
But what I see now, what I know now, is that was the driving force that just continued to get me going. And when I look at that based on the driving force of consciousness itself, I can see that driving force, that unknown mystery that was just pushing me, and it was angry, yet it was impulsive, and it wanted to know the answers. So I now see that. I now see that as the impulsive driving force of consciousness and evolution itself. So when I look back, I can see that all of this divine stuff was going on back then, but I wasn't able to define it then. So therefore, I'm questioning and angry and trying to work it out. And that's what, so that's what everyone goes through on their awakening, Because
pretty much. Not everybody. Some people awaken a little. Some people awaken screaming and kicking, and some people awaken easier. But it's funny, I was having this conversation. Please excuse, I've still got this cold, but so my nose is totally blocked. This conversation with a girlfriend yesterday who came to me as a client, how many years ago? God, 18 years ago. And we became best friends. Anyway, so she had a son who's about 10 now, and she's very passionate about being a mother, and raising her family, and she has other work, and she's ambitious with that. But the message just came through really quickly. She rang me to say, I'm sending someone to see you as a session. And the message just has come through many times, but she's been pushing back. This person is not to come to me. This person is for you to speak to. You have to start now being the teacher, being the helper, being the light worker. And she sees herself as a light worker, but she doesn't action it in any way. She has conversations with her friends, but that friend conversation, now you'll know this, Robyn, as a teacher, when you have a conversation with your family or your friends and you're not in that role as a teacher or a mentor, they do not listen to a word you say.
Not at all.
So you really have to start to, like you studied as a psychotherapist, you really have to put yourself out there as some sort of authority or mentor, or do some sort of course in order to say, I've now got authority to speak to you in a way where you'll listen to me. And instead of being a housewife that just does yoga and meditation.
That's right. That's a big thing. Unfortunately, that is a big stigma on the journey. Look, I say to all my students all the time, like, I just want you to be the broadcasting voice, the presence. And I don't care where it is, if it's when you're in Woolies doing your groceries. I don't care where you are. You are a voice for healing and love and awakening for humanity. And it doesn't have to be limited by this name or this degree, because I really want, like what you're saying about this lady, it's like we want to hand back that power and say, believe in yourself, know that we've all got this, we've got our own unique ways of being able to share and express, and it doesn't matter if it is just, as you say, like when you're with family, even then you kind of you click into well, how does the spiritual teacher speak as the daughter, sister, cousin, auntie? You still like, and that's where the training's in a lot as well, is like you still kind of flow and move it in, so that the words that you're coming out with are still going to be positive, and they're still going to be optimistic and inspirational for people. And you, instead of listening to their negative gossiping, it's like you're always finding ways to kind of lift up the conversation.
Can I tell you? I know. Can I tell you? Like, I have been to her friends. She belongs to a community of people that are all very connected and beautiful. But when those friends of hers come over, OMG, the rhetoric, the gossip. And she like most of us, she just gets totally swept up in that conversation, and that doesn't help anybody. Anyway,
No.
You know what she said to me, and you'll have found this, as a teacher, as someone that puts himself out there as a teacher, that journey of becoming the teacher is a personal growth journey, which means you have to meet all your SHIT, you have to meet all your crap, and face it. And that's what she said to me. She said, for the first time in 18 years, she started to listen to me, because I've been telling her this for years. And she's like, no, that's not who I am. That's not who I am. I'm a mother. I'm this, I'm that, but I'm not that. And she started to listen to me. She said, do you mean I have to face all my crap? And I'm like, yes. You're going to have to look at your responsibility and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's the hardest thing. But when you do, as you know, oh God, is it good? When you just,
there's so much freedom and liberation.
Freedom, liberation, freedom,
Yes.
and love for yourself, and love that you can look back. You can look back on yourself, like when you lost Taylor, screaming at God, saying, "How can you do this to me? How can there be a love?" You can look back at your anger and love it, and see it as beauty, and see it as you're part of your journey that was so important, because it led you, if you hadn't been that angry and that passionate, you wouldn't have been on that path to find some explanation for something so inconceivable.
It is literally an incredibly beautiful journey. And as you said, like every edge every edge is meeting the ego and the conformed labels, and the study that's done on the subconscious, like 95% of the body we're living on a subconscious and on a trauma. And when you actually start having to watch that and take responsibility for it, it's like, oh my God, that tiny 5% of consciousness but it shifts, but you're right, you've got to do the work, and you've got to do lots of self-inquiry. You've got to be vulnerable, you've got to be transparent, you've got to meet your edges, you've got to cry, you've got to shatter, you've got to go and surrender. Oh my God, surrender is the most hardest shattering experience, but the oh my God, the blessings and the grace that comes out of surrendering all the shit. And the thing is, it's hard to put words to the wordless, because this is stuff that takes us so deep in our hearts, and so deep into that pure understanding love. Not the love that is a personal love, like I love you, I love this, you love me. The divine love, it is such a non-personal love that it's just so radiates without being personal, and it comes from. I actually put a post up on Facebook only yesterday, and someone wrote, but what is love? And because we have so many ideas about what love is to us and what it represents. And here's how I experienced it and share it. You know, after 15 years of just intensive seeking and searching and all the different modalities and stuff, I came to the end 15 years later where I was literally exhausted. I didn't want to look at another book. I didn't want to crystals. I actually packed everything up, packed it all up, and left myself with nothing. There was a part of me that still wasn't satisfied, although satisfied with what it is that the last 15 years the journey had taken me on. It actually did help me from what I would call third to fourth density, or fourth dimension. And then there was the end of this road again, where there was not one book, one teaching, one modality, just nothing, because I've done it all, been there, done that, and I was like bloody exhausted. And then it's like, you know what, I'm just really letting this all go. And I did let it all go, put it all away, stopped teaching everything, rang up my kids and went, come around, Mummy's having a barbecue, grab some wine, we're just going to have some fun. They kind of went, we've got our mum back. It was the chop wood, carry water thing. But anyway, what happened from there is that I, about 2 weeks later, after this total releasing and letting everything go, I started getting more dreams. A lot of my teaching has been in the dream state. Okay, so in lucid dreaming, a lot of my teaching has come from being in the lucid dreaming state. With masters and teachers and loved ones that have passed over. But this time there was, you know, in my book, In Return to Soul, like I write about all of the groovy stuff that happened, you know. And then it had just come to this end, and the next messages that I was receiving was I was in the center of the cosmos, and I was looking out into the cosmos and going, oh my God, like it was so big, like really big, eternally big, infinitely big. And I could see the planet, and I could see the earth, and I could see all the star systems, and I could see all the everything going on. And I was focusing, and I was being shown the earth before it, as it evolved over the millions of years. And then I remember this was over at like 3 o'clock in the morning, for 3 days a week for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And even then I wasn't even thinking, I was just writing it down, and it's sort of like every second night I'd have this vision again, and I was just getting this whole download of kind of really interesting information. And then the last week I then went, oh, you know, so here I am, quite conscious that I'm in the cosmos and I'm learning all this stuff, but I'm asking, how do I teach this? Or like there was this knowing, so none of it is verbal, of course, it's just this subliminal knowing. How do I teach this? And this voice, this knowing said, you'll work it out, you'll find the way, how to put the wordless into words from this beautiful new concept of spiritual understanding. And then I was asked to turn within, to look at myself, to see, who am I? So I went, who am I? Yeah, who am I? And not only am I seeing all of this incredible creative expression before me, but who am I? And I turned within and I went to look at myself. Now, prior in the fourth dimensional teachings, in those, like, I could look at myself as a spirit being, vibrational, you know, lots of light, lots of spirit guides, lots of teachers. This time I turned within and I just like exploded into nothing, emptiness, total void, nothing. And with that, there was this knowing that, oh my God, this is the peace I've been seeking. This is it. So it's like the void, this emptiness, this that I turned to. So it was like I just returned my attention within. I looked within, and there was like this infinite, eternal expansion of nothingness. Not unlike the black screen that we have, was like just into the blackness. Yeah. But it wasn't scary, you know, it wasn't like the scary, it was scary blackness, because I also knew that from this darkness, this blackness, this void, this ground of being, is also where everything came forth from.
Arises.
So it was like the ground of being, the point zero, the actual ocean, the consciousness, the mind of the divine, the mind of God, whatever it is that we call it. And it was from that place that then the light moved forth into the dimensions, into the fourth, second and first dimensions, and created all of this, the manifested form that there is today. Now, I haven't lost the point about love. We're getting there. So what happened is then this place of just infinite eternal love, it wasn't defined by anything. It had no personification. So there was no deity. There was no word. So it was like, but this place of peace. And it was truly the place of unconditional, wordless, timeless, formless presence. And then when I've actually woke up and come back into my body, I had this sense, this grounded being still so deep within my heart, in the physical body. And I could feel it. It's like someone had just taken this, I just had the pill that just put infinite peace, eternally forever. It's just planted it in my body. And it was such a palpable inner stillness and presence that what happened then was the peace that was so deep in my being, in my heart. I started seeing from my heart, not from my head and all of the labels and the judgments that come with that, right? That we've been conditioned with. There was just this inner peace. And so this love was actually the expression. It was the extension from this ground of being, this deep void of deep, deep peace. Because when this peace is known and felt fully and embodied into being, then from that peace, it can only love all things.
Yeah.
So my answer to what is love and how do we find that love that is not the personal love, but the agape divine love, is like I always say to people, it's about being able to turn within, find your own deep, deep ground of being, learn to let go of all of the labels and definitions of the human self and the human body and all the other dimensions. Even in that, I still had to transcend beyond the angelic presence and all the deities and the masters and the teachings. It was even beyond that. This place was where they came from.
Yeah.
So
it's beyond religion, it's beyond New Age concept, it's beyond any book.
Everything. Now that's the love. And so if anything, that's where today I actually drive people to, like this concept of direct awakening. So that's the love that and from that love, that place of incredible peace and deep, formless, infinite source of being, then that is also then where we manifest from. That's actually the ground where there is potential, not an opportunity to actually tap into the potentiality or the force, the driving force of creation.
Yeah, well, actually, I just asked about that because you said that's where we manifest from, and immediately my thought was, no, because we get to manifest our negative crap as much as our positive, our loving crap. But I should call it crap. Our what we love, we get to manifest. But as I asked that question, I got straight away, but that love is so deep that it allows you to manifest, the negative stuff to show you how you are a creator. And I went, oh, of course. Because love doesn't mean that if you manifest from love, it doesn't mean that you're only going to manifest positive things, right? If you're manifesting from love, it's going to manifest, your belief system right in front of your eyes. It's going to show up as the angry, neighbor or the person in traffic. It's going to show up right in front of your eyes to reflect back to you what you're doing with your powerful focus.
Yes.
So
Correct.
that is love. Like that is love. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah. So we bring into our seeing, into our desires, into our focus, whatever it is, what it is that how we want to create. We are the mind of the divine. So we're the universal mind. We're choosing to manifest, and then we're getting that sense, that feeling, how beautiful, how wonderful that's going to be. We're just like projecting that out into our quantum field, and then it's like, but watch out, because you're correct 100%. Anything could come in the way, and those are the things that are needed. We may be wanting to, yes, of course, manifest joy and love and abundance, but all of the other stuff that's in our way, collectively,
it's going to show up in your face.
Yeah, and that's where people get confused. It's quite funny because they go,
and that's when people point outside themselves and say, this crap's happening to me. And the death of a child feels like that too. Like, how could this happen to me? But when you realize that it happened from this infinite well of love, that actually happened to you from love, because it wanted you to remember who you are and wake you up and then get you out there teaching. You get that, like I get that mum dies when I'm 16 of cancer. I get that was love who created that, because interestingly enough, she's back and she's living in my house.
You know what I loved? What I loved when I read your part about, was it seeing your mother? Was it when you, in your dreams, and when your mum came to you? You see, I was really fearful of death myself. Okay, so then when Taylor died, of course, that just changed everything. I was in massive fear, like of my dad dying, because he had a lot of heart condition, and I used to cry myself to sleep, going, I don't want my dad to die. So I was in that typical place.
Yeah.
And what happened is, Dad died, of course. So
how many years ago?
12 years ago now.
Right.
So Taylor had already passed. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it was 25 years ago, and then Dad passed at 12 years ago. And I remember that he came to me in my dream, and I clearly knew the difference, and when I read the part of your book, was like, clearly, no, hang on, this isn't just one of those subconscious dreams coming up. This is real. This is a different place. This is really a palpable knowing, and there they are. And I remember seeing my dad and talking to him, going, but Dad, but you're dead. No, you're not dead. And I had a lot of these experiences with people that are passed. You're actually alive, but I'm asleep. And it's kind of like I'm looking to point down at the bed.
Yeah.
I'm asleep. We're here. You are just like, and the happiness. It's hard to actually try to explain in the physical third-dimensional world how this, beyond the body, when we're in those states, in the state of consciousness, in these subtle realms, like, everything is multiplied and magnified. So the joy was like, it wasn't just about like, if Dad walked in the room today, that I'd be joyful. It was just like 100-fold. The love was 100-fold, the happiness. And so this is another thing I started to learn, is that, like, we're limited. We're so limited by the conditioning of this body and our mind, that when we learn to shift our identification from these limitations of the body and the mind, then we literally, truly can expand our own consciousness and our awareness, so that the joy and the love and the happiness and the abundance that we get is 100-fold more.
Yeah.
So let's just do it. Like, so it's so exciting, and of course, then we want everyone, come on join us. Let's sing it. Let's dance it. Let's pray it. Let's meditate. Let's do whatever we can to
let's do it. You said something that I wanted to discuss, because you said, so having experienced that deep well of pure liquid infinite bliss love, that's where I try to take people to, and immediately I'm thinking, I had this thought, you can't take people there, they have to take themselves. And then the next thought was, but what a teacher does is, in sharing your story and in sharing your experiences, it gets the person to ask for that. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Without having to go through the death of a child or the death of a parent, or, I mean, all that's going to happen, you know, everyone's going to die at some point, but without having to go through tragedy. See, what the New World teachers are doing is they've gone, we've done it, right? We've done the hard yards.
yeah, yeah.
And then we share our stories and tell people where we've been, like we've been swimming in this infinite field of unconditional peace and bliss. And
Yeah.
people go, I want that. And as soon as they say, I want that, right, they've now put that intention out. And so, you know, that can come back at them as trauma to wake them up, or it can come back at them as bliss.
Yes.
You know, depending on how open and allowing, and how much they surrender and how much they get authentic and real with their own stuff. You know, when you're pushing against your own stuff, saying, I'm perfect, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me. You know, the universe is going to say, you want that bliss? Let me just show you what is inside you that's resisting that bliss. Yeah.
And I love the word authentic too. We really have to be real and open. And yeah, show our tears and show our vulnerability and be okay with that. It's like, yeah, it's okay to be this way, because every opportunity we're just flowering and growing, you know, with every edge. So authenticity and commitment. I find that commitment is a big thing. Well, it was for me. Mine was just a given. It's like it started and it's not stopped. And every moment, every breath that I take is just like, where can I experience more of this? How can I learn more? How can I grow more? Today, it is an opportunity of presence and being. It's like, yeah, like I can just rest in this. This is beautiful. But it was the passion, and it was the driving force of really yearning. And so when people really want these answers, you know, to encourage them to just like, don't give up, go for more, taste it all, and you'll get through, you know, you really will. I find that
well, like it says in the, you know, that book that everyone likes to talk about, ask and it is given. So once you've asked, once you've said I want that, once you've asked, it's coming.
Yep.
You know, you don't actually have to do anything. It's coming.
Watch out.
Watch out for what you ask for.
I remember the moment. When was that moment when I dropped that question, that seed? And I was like, it's vivid, as clear as anything. Here I am in the country, outside, putting the kids' clothes up on the clothesline, looking up at the sky, going, if there's a God, you just better turn up, because I can't do this anymore. And I'm going, and anyway, I don't believe in a God anyway, so top that one, right? And I remember so clearly that it was then that I really did plant that seed, because it was like 2 weeks after that, I was watching Oprah.
Yeah. God bless Oprah.
And that was the beginning. I was watching Oprah, and there was a lady on talking about her near-death experience, and I've gone, oh my God, this is it.
There you go.
And that seed, that's what it was. Get out of the way, watch out. Yeah, but once you just plant that seed,
that's it.
Enjoy the ride. But at least I think the good thing is that we're able to prepare people for the ride and go, it's going to be rocky, but it's okay.
Yeah, we're holding their hands while they're on the journey. Let me hold your hand. You've asked, and it's going to come to you. Let me hold your hand while it comes, because it's going to rock your world. You know, it's going to shake you up. It's going to, like, everything that you think you are. I'm this person's wife or brother or sister or mother or father, or everything you think you are is going to be shattered.
I think, and we can laugh about it. And maybe there's other people watching this going, these two are crazy. Like, how can they be laughing about stuff that's so harsh?
Because we've done the hard, we've been there, and we came out the other side. That's how we can laugh at it. You know, I was talking to Natalie Sudman, who was blown up in a bomb blast, and she was talking about designing her injuries from that broader perspective, you know, on the other side. Yeah. And she was with a spirit guide, and they were laughing about watching her fall around as she was half blind, or try to navigate food without a hand. And, you know, they were watching all this tragedy that was unfolding in her life, and they were just having this great big cack about it. Yeah. And I have to say, we were talking about this really terrible subject, and the two of us were just laughing and laughing and laughing. yeah, you know, it is from that perspective. It is our tragedies are very funny, but from this perspective, they are just so not funny.
That's why we get the label that us New Agers are a bit crazy.
Yeah, totally.
Poor hippies. No wonder they got such a bad rap in the 60s.
Exactly. Yeah.
What I do find too is, like, all jokes aside, is that still being in that role for us today is really humbling. Humbling to when people, you know, my students often say, like, thank you so much, you've helped change my life, you know, you've guided me. And it's like there's this part of me that sort of like doesn't want to hear that, because there is such so much humble gratitude for my own experience, for the spirit of my daughter, and all of the journey, all of the people. So it's sort of like it's really hard to take a thank you and a gratitude, and the appreciation, which of course is very healthy, but it's just like so humbling, because it is such a beautiful gift, a really beautiful way of receiving. A lot of the times when I'm teaching, I can hear people having breakdowns and talking about their struggles, and I'll just sit there with this massive smile on my face, and sometimes I laugh when they talk about they're going through all this stuff, and I have a very gentle sort of a smile and giggle, and then they'll start laughing, and they go, why do you laugh at me? Like, I'm trying to tell you how hard this is and you just make me laugh. And I go, honestly, you'll see that there is so much blessings in this. My heart is so open. I'm holding this space of love for you, and you will see that this is actually a joy that's unfolding.
Yeah.
And I see that. I kind of see that in advance, and I'm not laughing. I'm not out laughing at you. I'm actually, my joy comes from seeing your soul being so vulnerable and so open. And I say to them all the time, these aren't tears of sadness and grief. These are tears that your soul is celebrating in joy. So when I see you cry, I see your soul going, yay, she's got it. And that brings me joy. And I'm backing back going, but the other perception would be they're crying, they're sad, and I should be holding space of sadness or empathy for them. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way with my work. It's like souls celebrating by crying tears of joy, and there's only happiness. And I think that having that two different ways of being able to hold space for people, I've watched it makes an incredibly massive difference. I wouldn't be doing that, of course, if someone was in raw grief. You know, of course, I'd be. But
you know, there are different levels of teachers.
Yeah.
And someone who's in raw grief after the loss of someone, who is not awake at all, or maybe not even asking questions, just at the beginning, you know, where you were crying out to a God, saying, I don't believe in God because who could do this to me? Yeah. They're not attracted to the frequency that you're teaching, really. Someone asked me. No, they're not. Someone asked me that, you know, how do you tell people you create your own reality when something tragic like that happens? And the thing is that the people that are attracted to me are not there. You know, they've moved. They're along the journey. That they're awakening to the reality of who they really are, and they need some guidance about how to manifest that in a physical life, and also teach others. You know, I attract the teachers. You know, I've always known myself as a teacher of teachers, and I can have conversations with people who've been out, you know, on the show, who've been out there teaching for 30, 40 years, and they're still, you know, they're still having sort of remembrances from me. You know what I mean? It's like my guides or their guides are speaking through me. I was having that conversation with someone beautiful the other day who's been out there. So it's so that raw grief is probably not someone who's coming to your work. There are other people out there, counsellors and grief counsellors, that are there to hold their hand and give them tissues and pat them on the back and say it's all going to be okay. Yeah, I actually hold that space because of my professional work. So I do actually have an aspect of my business which is called holding space, and that is for that is in with community services and with the funeral directors. Oh, you do?
Yeah. So I put that hat on because that too is also quite a humbling opportunity. And I found that even when oh my God, like I've worked with people that have had quite horrific crises occur in their life. And I also understand that Spirit has me in that place to also bridge them from raw grief and fear to an opportunity for the spiritual awakening. And majority of the time, I can bridge the rawness, which was where I was, and I can be there, and then bridge them over to awakening. So that's been just an aspect of my work that I'm really, really, really grateful that I've had. And I did, that's why I went to university to do my degree in counselling psychology, because to me, I wanted to be able to have that opportunity to go to the places where even then I can help that bridging as well. But of course, the majority of my work's done over here on like workshops and counselling and retreats. But I love being able to even have that opportunity if it arises, because the same thing, if I'm called in as a counsellor through community services or through the funeral directors, I'm actually coming in knowing that person, there might have been 50 people gone through in the last month, but there's one person that's actually asking for some, and they've actually seen my business card, and there's just something different on it that they actually will take. So they're meant to be hearing it as well.
Yeah.
But I'm very mindful that I'm still actually working with that.
Within a system.
Yeah.
But you're right. The people that are attracted to you within that system will have to be ready for, this is not a tragedy, this is a spiritual awakening. Because there are a lot of people on the planet that just want to tell you it's a tragedy, and can you please feel sorry for me?
And I didn't it's really interesting, because when I put myself back into that mindset, I can understand the void. This is like the void of grief and the shock, because we're not expecting that's going to happen. So it's a really big shock to the system, biochemically, emotionally, everything. It's just like a massive it's like being energetically hit by a Mack truck, and I'm also, I always look at, here's something I found that was just amazing. When I look back at that person as me at 30, and my mindset, I can actually look at the unknown, the fears, the confusion, and I can literally categorize all of those things now as the awakening. The emptiness, the void was today what I like. I've gone from avoiding the void to taking people to the void. It's like, let's not, because avoiding the void. To take people to the void. And now I take them to the void. So I literally direct people to the void. I direct them there. I explain to them what the void is, and eliminate all the fear, drop them in the void, and of course allow them to go through dialogue and understanding, and help take them through understanding in a safe place. In a really safe place. It
reminds me of someone I spoke to on the show who's actually contributing to the book series Surviving Death. Her son was murdered, was shot, and she said something really fascinating to me. 12. She said, inside that grief, because she was a mother, she wasn't on a spiritual journey, and then this terrible thing happened to her. She said, Karen, my biggest fear was realized. The biggest fear a mother has is that their beautiful 6-year-old could be murdered, senselessly murdered.
Absolutely.
And she said, my biggest fear was realized. And she said, inside realizing that the thing that I was most afraid of in the world happened, all my other fears dropped away. Just that I just didn't have any more fear anymore. And she said, what was really interesting, she said, this happened even before his funeral, like in the days or week or so before the funeral. And she had this realization. She said, inside that place where all my other fears was this void that you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And she said, and I found myself in a state of grace.
Yes.
And she said that inside that state of grace, all this information came to her about how she wanted to forgive and how she wanted to teach people about forgiveness, and she wanted to choose love over hate. And now she's got this huge movement called I Choose Love, and she's going into schools. And, you know, she's had Obama and she's met the Dalai Lama. Like, in the 8 months after her son died, inside that state of grace where she had dropped all her fear, she achieved and accomplished so much. And she has this massive movement that is just changing lives. And it's such a it's such a beautiful story. And I love the way she explained it. When she realized her greatest fear had happened, she had no more fear. And that's the void. It's like
it's the void.
The void.
And it is the holding space of grace. And it takes and this is what all my heart's desire is to be able to take people to that place,
to that void,
without having to go through such
tragedy,
like that lady did, and to be able to help people find that, because the same thing happened to me once. Like, there was nothing was ever going to compare to losing a child. And as I said, like earlier, like I would cry thinking my dad was going to pass. And then when my dad passed, it was totally different. It's a celebration. It was like there was no fear. And it's so true. From that place, it deletes all of the human condition and all the fears of the mind.
It does.
And it's just, and grace is the most, it's quite funny. I actually have a couple of tattoos on my arm, and they are grace and surrender and love, because to me they are really pinnacle words to express and to explain the gift that actually comes through these experiences.
You speak about your dad dying. When my dad died about 10 years ago, I think it was, can't remember, I was told a long time ago, Dad and I had a really fraught relationship. And during a meditation and a crying out to the universe of why and all that sort of stuff when I was young, I was shown a bit of his life, and I was shown when he was going to die. He was married to his third wife, and they said to me, when his last child finishes school, he'll leave the planet. You know, they give you these time frames, but does that mean like a week later, a year later, like a month? What does that mean? They don't say on this date. So he got sick, when his last child was in high school. And she was actually on her schoolies vacation when he left the planet. Like, it was literally, she had left school, literally done her last exam 2 weeks. So I knew he was going. And it was a celebration. But I said to him in my consciousness, I'm going to be there to meet you on the other side, right? And I said to my guides, I want you to show me that. I want you to give me that experience. Because you don't have to be dead to hang out with your dead, You know how they say when you die, you meet your dead relatives, but you can actually meet your alive relatives too, because we're all, we're here and there simultaneously. You don't have to be dead to be over there. But I did not have that experience. And I was really pissed off with them. They did not show me that experience. And I'm like, oh, I said, did it happen? And they said, yeah, that happened. And I'm like, but you didn't show me. They didn't show me. And I did not have any conscious connection with him after he died for a while, actually. And then my husband, who says to me he's not psychic and he can't speak to dead people, says, I can see your father.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, really? You can see him and I can't see him? It's so funny, isn't it? I don't know. I think they were just messing with me.
I haven't actually, it's quite funny because I haven't had, in this the first 15 years, I had a lot of guidance from spirit, like what you're talking about. And it all stopped. Like today, I can't say there's a knowing that there is this presence of celestial beings and multidimensional aspects of consciousness, but I no longer have a set, like it's very much more non-dual. It's just this one experience now.
You know, I want to tell you something that you said to me years ago when we were doing the theta stuff together, right? We were walking down a street. I might have even come up to see you on the Central Coast. I think it was during a time I'd come up to see you one day, and we were walking down the street, and I remember you said something to me that really helped at the time, because I was a young girl trying to work all this stuff out, right? Well, we're both in our 30s back then.
Yeah.
And, people were saying, you know, my higher self's name's Bob or Jesus or Mother Mary or somebody. And I never had a singular name. I never had my spirit guide was, you know, an Indian, or I never had a singular. And it used to, like, everyone had these names for their guides and their higher selves. And I never had that. And I felt like I was doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And then you said something to me like, oh, you know, my master, whoever your teacher was at the time, said that, you know, when you're speaking to a singular, you're just speaking to like an aspect of personality. You're not really speaking to, because from that perspective, it is a collective consciousness.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's it. And, you know, and people say, who are your guides? I call them blissful beings. Like they are this collective consciousness.
Yeah.
And I see people channeling today, and they're sort of bringing through the council from the Palladian, this and and there's all these sort of groups and names, and they're giving them names. And I still scratch my head and say,
very good.
Not getting this sort of like compartmentalized group or name. You know, they say, who are you speaking to? I'm speaking to whoever needs to be spoken to. It's like just this quantum soup of collective consciousness, and it's not individualized. It's not even group. It's like a broader.
And that labeling is personifications and requirements of duality, of the ego, of the mind.
Yeah, it's the requirement of the mind.
That's what the mind needs. Because I remember, like, back in those days, sitting out and writing all this information, and it'll probably be about the same time that we've had that conversation, and I'd go like, who's this message coming from? Yeah. Because, you know, your ego wants to be able to go, you know, this message is from Archangel Michael, and this message is from here. Oh my God. Anyway, really, really kind of, it's such old paradigm for me. Is like back, to me, it is literally back 20 years ago, and it's still occurring today. So it's in the timelessness. What was happening to me 20 years ago is still happening to people today, but they think it's all new, and it's not right, because it was happening to people 20 years before us.
Oh yeah, 100 years, millions, you know, 1,000 years before us. I mean, it's been happening for as long as humans have been on the earth.
And so people today are thinking that there's this awesome stuff that they're channeling all these different names, and they're putting labels to it. But then I remember back then them saying, I'm not giving you a name, because there is no name. This is the nameless. This is the infinite source of intelligence. And it was actually back then. So it's possibly that's the conversation we were having back then, because I'm going, I want a name. I need a label. I need some specialness here.
Yes.
That was my spiritual ego. Today it's just like so absolutely nothing like that at all. And I really think that it is another beautiful gift that we actually have, is to help people not get caught up in old paradigm labeling and stuff, because this source is just the source of love and just pure potential awesomeness. You know, it's like, tap into this, know this. We've got to learn, like we do have to do lots of psychological processing and inquiry through the whole journey of awakening. But like to see it, to enjoy it, you know, and to have fun with it, and to not then, but then also watch where the spiritual ego goes, oh, I want to be like them, because if I'm not like them, then I'm not special. Because I remember when I was teaching Reiki, so I was taught Reiki 22 years ago by a Tibetan Buddhist monk. You know, it was like an incredible teaching, incredible lineage, and I would say to him, you know, I can't see auras, or I can't see this or that. And of course, his guidance was just brilliant, you know, and he said, well, you don't have to, you know, some people have all their different way of sensing. And one of the greatest things that I've carried with that is I've wanted to help people just be okay. Be okay with your ordinariness, because in your ordinariness and in your authenticity, there's so much more purity, because you're not coming from the ego that's just wanting to fit in, because the ego that wants to be this and be all that is still such a subtle, it's very subtle, and of course people won't hear that, but it is really a subtle realm that is still about the need, the requirement to actually be special and have this special gift. We all have gifts, and it may just be that our gift is communication. It may be that our gift is sitting there and saying nothing, or it might be that we're sick and that we have access to all this wonderful information, or it may be that we actually have we access our healing modalities better than others, or our art or our dance. It's just drop the labels, just be. Let's just merge in this unity and just have fun and just love each other for this unique opportunity that we have being on this planet.
Yeah. Absolutely, darling. Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Yeah. So out with the labels.
But it reminds me of the conversation I had with Bill McKenna. We were talking about different dimensions, and actually he was talking about when he started to become very empathic, and as a healer or as somebody, he started to feel other people's pain, right?
Yeah.
As a lot of empathic people do.
Yeah.
And he said, the way I got over that was to label people. And this is what's really interesting in this conversation. When I started to say, you're you and you have dark hair and I'm me and I have no hair because he was bald, and I'm a man and you're a woman, when he started to say your name's this and my name's Bill, when he started to label, he created separation.
Correct.
And inside that separation, he didn't feel their pain anymore. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Using that separation to help him not be...
To benefit.
Yeah, because the truth of who we are is we are all one. And when you're speaking to the oneness of all, not to have a name or a label actually connects you to them, to the oneness, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So when you say it's Archangel Michael or it's the Palladian, Council of Light or whatever, and you've grouped them and labeled them, now you're creating separation from you to them.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that you can't hear them or speak them, but it's kind of nice when you're when you're out there as a somebody that's helping, or a therapist or a healer or a teacher, to have that connection to the oneness. Yeah. So when you let go of the label and you just speak to the source, that's the label. Now you're connected, and so it's really beautiful how you can use the separation to benefit you, and then to not, we can sort of play with labels or not play with, because
and it's important to do that too, because we need to be able to turn off those that otherwise we're just immersed in it too much. As you're saying, he would be so connected to everyone's emotions, it would be exhausting. So that's great. I just think that it's just based on this is just language. It's just language, really, isn't it? Because yes, of course, it makes a lot of sense that people who I'm the same. Hence, when I go and teach, I spend hours in the water, in the ocean. I have my grounding. It's like if we've had a big day, have a beautiful salt bath and candles. It's like we need to be able to have that way to cleanse and clear our energies. And so whatever method or tool we use, so that we can actually bring ourselves back to ourselves and love ourselves, and kind of disconnect the field where we actually can get quite immersed in other people's energy fields. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, darling. I have no idea. I've been so immersed in this conversation. I have no idea how long we've been talking.
No, I don't know. So anyway, I just think that together, collectively, as you're saying, like all of the new world leaders today, I just also feel like really, really honoured to be able to know that we're coming from such an authentic place now. I think it's beautiful that there's so many, and it's showing up in many different ways, like in dance, in celebration. You know, in now that we're becoming such a collective, globalized planet. We actually have an opportunity like this. I mean, goodness me, we could have only done this over the phone, 20 years ago. And so social media is absolutely brilliant. We're going to give opportunities to be able to connect up around the world. My God, that is just awesome. And then to still be really proactive in our human connection. One of the things that's also like shifted that I see has made it a little bit difficult on the pathway for some is that we have this great opportunity for social media, so we're able to connect, but also there's been a separation or a shift in human connection. So, of course, being here is absolutely beautiful, but hanging out, me sitting on your lounge having a coffee would have been much nicer to be able to kind of
that's so interesting that you bring that up, because for a while now my guides have been saying, get the groups together again, the physical groups. And I've been arguing with saying, it's so easy for me to sit on my lounge in my living room and, do this on the internet. And I have, the webinar groups, but they're like, no, Karen, it's really important to do the physical stuff. And I'm like, why? We're still together, whether we're on the internet. And they said to me, I didn't really understand, but they said to me the power of coming together physically is kind of more amplified.
Absolutely. And I think, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. I'm glad that this has already been spoken to you about.
Yeah.
Maybe it's opportunity to be listening, because of all of the work I've done over the years and the workshops and the teachings. Like back 20 years ago, right? It was like that's all we were doing. The internet wasn't out.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wasn't until about 2004 that everything started to shift. So I was actually immersed in teaching back then. I was immersed in teaching Reiki and doing theta healing and it was all us and hanging out and forming beautiful relationships and friendships and helping people physically. Then I watched with social media, it's like everything started moving out and the groups actually started getting less and less. And today, one of the most important things that is imperative, I believe, is imperative to as an aspect of healing and uniting and awakening is to keep groups together. I personally have monthly satsangs where all my students can come. I believe that coming together in a satsang or a meditation group gives you an opportunity to just activate that energy together, amplifies it, because we're amplifying the quantum field with all of us in there.
So where do you do your satsang? You do them down where you are?
Yes, down here at Cootamundra.
Cootamundra. I was going to say Kiama again. Another K name. Yeah. Cootamundra. Is Cootamundra a C or a K?
A C.
Oh, it's a C name. Right.
Yeah, and I have people travelling from everywhere to just come. And it's great because it gives people an opportunity to get out of the city, come and just immerse themselves, connect back up with a soul family, and just really enjoy and really connect back up with that. That has been something that is incredibly important. And then the retreats. Number one, at the end of the day, the retreats are the top of the tree for actual, what I have only viewed and witnessed myself. The retreats are actually the most palpable, the biggest opportunity for people to immerse themselves. So it's about the opportunity for immersion and really being in the environment, out of your, like retreating from social media, retreating from family and your businesses and all that, and actually committing to a space where you actually are diving in and really nurturing yourself, and then taking the opportunity to open. So the retreats are just incredible. So I've been taking retreats to Bali for 10 years.
10 years, wow.
Yeah, but today I've actually have an incredible retreat center here in the country. oh my God, the miracles that occur are just, it's just incredible. So I think that another thing, and it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's dancing, because I actually go, well, this month's satsang, we're dancing, you know.
Yeah.
And then when any of the guys are coming through from Sydney to Melbourne, they come in and we have a kirtan, so we all join together and we all sing, you know.
I want to share something with you that happened recently, because they've been hounding me to do it and I keep putting them off because it's so much easier to do it online, right? Because you know, you got to pay rent and you got to get people to come and you got to do tipping and God. Anyway, so you remember that lady, that beautiful woman, Justine Drubenek? I don't know how to say her name. You know how she was shot in the States? She was
yep.
I didn't know her personally. I had met her a couple of times and considered putting her on the show. Like, thought, oh, she's speaking my language, I can put her on the show. And then she went to live in the States because she followed her heart over there, and she's living with her fiance over there, and she'd been over there for quite a few years. I think that she left just as soon after I met her.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a little gathering here at One Space to honour her. There was a big gathering on the north side where she came from. Yeah. And there was only 8 of us in the room, and two of us didn't know her, right? Yeah. One person had never met her. I had at least met her. But I felt like I wanted to honour this beautiful woman. I just makes me cry thinking about it. Anyway, she came through to me really palpably, really strongly. And as I was sitting in the little group, I said, you know, is there anything you'd like to say to the group? You know, I'm here as your voice.
Yeah.
And I sat down in our little circle, and Camilla, Bainey was singing.
Yeah.
And she showed me this energy of anger and confusion. And I'm like, you're in heaven. You're not in anger and confusion. And she said, I want to show you the energy that's happening around my death. And I said, yeah, well, that's obvious. You know, anger and confusion. She gave me this energy. And she said, what you're doing here tonight is directly affecting that. And I'm thinking, there's 8 of us. You know, there's 8 of us and we're just singing. All we did was sing and just honour her, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, there was a good friend of hers there, and I was telling people what she was telling me, and they were not really believing I was speaking to a dead person. That was fine, because some people don't believe it. But the next day she contacted me and she said, you know, her spiritual community in the States that was in anger and confusion, overnight after we did that kirtan, it turned into this love fest and celebration. It totally shifted.
Yeah.
It shifted from anger and confusion to love and celebration.
Beautiful.
And I was like, whoa, because she had said to me, you are directly affecting that, right? Not in the masses, but amongst her spiritual community.
Yeah.
And there was 8 of us. And I just showed me the power of gathering, even when it's just 8. Just 8 and singing and just gathering and singing. That's all we did, sing and celebrate.
And also because she actually understood the field. She actually
she's on that side, right? She's looking at it from that broader perspective. Yeah.
She clearly understood that coming together with that intention was exactly what was going to strengthen that quantum field to be able to connect up. I mean, that itself is so beautiful, that just 8 people just in prayer. You know? Yeah.
And so they said, see, we're showing you the power of gathering physically.
Yeah. Hi, pussy.
So for people listening to this, you know, if you think that you're not powerful, just get a couple of your friends together, meditate, sing, kirtan, love, pray, do whatever. Everything. So important.
Yeah. So they are really important. That was something that was part of what I was guided to teach from the universe, was like, don't not remember that the human collective as well, and how important that is. I'd been shown that in many visions, you know, years before, that it is so important that we actually do come together as still in human connection. To be able to activate and keep on amplifying this energy so that it's out. So that's a brilliant example. Just gorgeous.
It was. Because I was sitting there thinking, how can 8 people singing affect that?
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you watch the media, and the amount of, oh God, anger and confusion that was created over that.
Yeah.
And especially amongst her spiritual community in the States, because she belongs to a really gorgeous spiritual community over there. Anyway.
Yeah. So there you go. I think you should be listening to your folks, because you know.
Oh, I am. I'm getting it organised. I'm just thinking, you know, do I do it before the end of the year, or do I do it next year? But anyway, maybe you can help me with that. Anyway, we'll have a chat about that afterwards. But listen, I think we probably should wrap this up for people listening. Yeah. Any last wisdom you'd like to share with people, darling one?
No, look, that was it. Stay connected. Don't avoid the void. Find a way, an opportunity to go within. Usually meditation is a great pathway to help you actually go within, to not fear diving into this incredibly beautiful place and this opportunity that can arise once all of those labels are put down. So don't avoid the void. Go in there, connect with that, and just really allow that grace, right? The space, the grace, that is what the void is. It is the ground of being. It is the source of all of existence, and it truly is the most incredible healing space and opportunity for opening on all levels, all dimensions, and then all of our own gifts. Find your way to be guided into the void.
Look, I love this. This is your bumper sticker. We've just got a bumper sticker for you. Yeah. Don't avoid the void. What did you say? What did you say about grace? There was something.
Don't avoid the void. The void is the ocean of grace.
Allow the state of grace. Don't avoid the void. Allow the state of grace. There's your bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Robyn Collins. Don't avoid the void. Stay in the state of grace.
Yeah.
Darling one, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, gorgeous. It was great seeing you and talking to you. It's been a while, and but yeah, we'll keep in touch and do some more stuff together. Because I'm in the country. I'd love to be able to come and talk.
I'll have to come on down to your centre, but and come in for a holiday. Just tell people who that are listening to audio, your website.
My website is www.robyncollins.com.au. And I'm on Facebook and all of that sort of stuff. And so you can, like, any books, and I've done.
I'll have a link to your book on my webpage for people that go to my webpage. There's more information and
from there.
And you can get Robyn's book on the webpage. And, I get a couple of cents from the affiliate link, but to tell you the truth, I'd make no money out of the affiliate link.
And if anyone wants
on there anyway.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And thank you. Your work is it's just beautiful and wonderful as a collective, and I really appreciate it. So if anyone wants to go to the void, come on down to the country. I'll take you to the void and we'll play.
We'll come to Bali.
We'll come to Bali. Go to the void in Bali. Yeah.
Bali is so beautiful in Bali, let me tell you.
Anyway, that's another report.
Blessings to you.
See you. Thank you so much. Love you, Karen. Thank you. Karen. Thank you. See ya.
Wasn't that another great conversation? I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And remember, if you want to be a part of our little Inner Sanctum tribe, I shouldn't call it little, should I? But at the moment, it's not too big. It's very manageable. Please join us in the Inner Sanctum, where you get to meet some of our teachers. I'll invite Robyn back to do some more teaching. She's beautiful, isn't she? We have monthly webinars. We teach deliberate creation, and you get to meet. I invite guest teachers on. And remember to check out my website if you need any sessions or healings or counselling or channelings or any of that sort of stuff. So great to have you with us. Thanks again for joining me. Love you all. Lots of love. Mwah. Bye for now.
Thanks so much for joining us for another enlightened conversation on Accentuate the Positive. If you would like spiritual guidance from my guides, Blissful Beings, go to KarenSwain.com for a reading, or to listen to more enlightened thought leaders share their wisdom. Go to the listen page on KarenSwain.com and choose who you want to listen to. All the podcasts are also available on iTunes. Remember to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, you name it, we're there. Until next time, bye for now.
Feel like that's what you want to do.